Mr. Sneaker Gears, my name is Levi. Welcome to another performance comparison, where today we're looking at one of the first Puma basketball shoes in over 2 decades, the Puma Clyde Court Disrupt. Alright, so Puma came out swinging this year for 2018, and they actually signed the majority of the rookie class that was drafted. So they actually signed a lot of big guys, small guys. Terry Rozier is probably the smallest one. Kevin Knox, who's, I wouldn't say he's small, but a lot of guys are playing. So this is a shoe that really has to cater through 1 through 5. And I can say right off the bat, there's a lot of good things about this shoe. And this is definitely something that 1 through 5 positions could enjoy. Albeit there are a few things that they could have done better, but this is their first crack at it, and they did a really good job. So as always, we like to start off with the fit and materials, and they did an amazing job. Now, one of the reasons that Puma has done so good overall on the shoe is also because they did a lot of copying, and I guess that's good, and I hope they win those cases. But in the upper case, they are actually being sued by Nike for their fly knit technology. Now, the cool thing about this shoe is this is probably one of the best knits I've used on a basketball shoe since the LeBron 16, which is recent. Like, this knit is absolutely fantastic. It actually reminds me a lot of the brand Black J Crossover 2. Now, these two shoes represent a lot of what Puma was going after. So the J Crossover 2 used a really nice knit upper. You can see that. And then they used a solid rear portion for the containment and support. Nike is similar, where they have a full knit upper, and then you have a really exaggerated heel cup, where it's not taking the whole back half of the shoe, but it's definitely taking a larger portion, again, for containment. So Puma did something very stylistically amazing, where they're able to use that Puma logo as the distinguishing factor from the knit to the harder materials. And I think style-wise, they do it perfectly. This is something you can wear on court and off court. Maybe not this colorway, but essentially the whole top part of the shoe is a beautiful knit. Nicely strong, does the job. As you break it in, this is something that definitely you do need to tie tighter, but that's all right. The yellow portion, and this is easier to dissect in this colorway, I know they have a triple black coming out, is a little bit looser of a knit, makes it a little easier to get on. There's some nice padding underneath, so you can really torque it down. But then where this comes out, this is actually, you guys can hear that, a really hard, I mean, it's still kind of a knit, but there's something solid backing that. So, and this is going to add for the lateral support and does a great job. Behind it, and hopefully you guys can take a look here, this is actually kind of a raw material. Now, maybe this is fake leather, but you can see right here, I love that they added that touch of raw material. So hopefully it is real leather. We'll see. Honestly, I don't think it is. And then you have that external heel cup coming around, along with, and you can almost see in the lines right here, an internal heel cup. So there's a lot of support on this shoe, and design wise, it's just super clean. You would never think it. This looks like just one of their casual off-court looks with knit. So the fact that they're able to pull off that look while also giving the amazing amount of support for a basketball shoe is amazing. Kudos to Puma on their design team and executing with the materials that they have chosen. Now, going into the fit, this shoe definitely does fit big, and it is very wide foot friendly. So I was able to go with my true size 12, plenty of width that knit molds to your foot beautifully. I actually was able to fit into an 11.5, but the width wasn't quite there for me, so I'm happy going with the 12. If you do have a narrow or a normal foot, you definitely do want to go down half size to possibly even a full size. But if you go down half size and you find yourself, hey, maybe I could have gone down more, you can still tighten those down really nicely. If you look underneath, you can still see there's a pad right there. And that pad does a great job of allowing you to really torque down those laces. So as you break it in, or if you have a little more narrow foot, it does a fantastic job. And I like how they not only pull you in through here, and it's not using just the knit, but actual structure, almost like a Jordan Flight Web, as well as you're pulling down into here, really pulling you into that heel cup. So a lot of people confuse fit with comfort. And in that scenario, which is wrong, comfort is the cushion. But if fit is something that's where you take as comfort, this is something a lot of people are going to find very, very comfortable, because the fit is fantastic. To get a right fit out of the box is huge. This is their first entry in a long time, and I think they nailed it. About the support, I really kind of went over, and you kind of see it's integrated in the design really well. It has almost a completely flat base, very wide. You kind of have an almost built-in outrigger. I don't know if you guys can see that, where it comes out just a little bit. The problem I don't like about this, and that goes in the support, it does the same thing all the way around. If you look at the shoe, you notice how it almost has a weightlifter's kind of flare out. There's no reason these should have a similar heel design where you see that flare out going from skinny to wide, skinny to wide. And I'll talk about that why in just a moment. But support initially when you try on is a lot better than you would think. This is definitely going to be something any big man is going to be happy with. As a smaller guy, or if you're going to be shifty or quick, this is where I get a little upset at that. If you see that exaggerated lip coming out on the forefoot, I don't mind that because you're already starting off wide. But what happens is, if your foot does roll at all, what happens is this creates a really hard angle where this shoe just goes. So it really does feel like this, where you don't have any little, there's no give, it's not trying to keep you planted. Now obviously if you land on someone's foot, it is what it is. You can't really prevent that. But if you're just playing hard defense, you come in like this and there's a little bit too much force, your foot is just going to tip over and it snaps back. That's something I really didn't like about this shoe. Now at the same time, that's if you're playing very shifty, if you're playing very quick. I know Kevin Knox already has an injury in the shoe, and I can say the shoe can be partly to blame for how severe it will be. You land on someone's foot, something's going to happen. Hopefully it's not too bad. But the fact that how this shoe is designed, where it really just tips over, I really didn't like that. So overall on defense, I did trust the shoe up to about 80%. Honestly, I wasn't sliding back and forth, so people were beating me with this shoe on. And again, if you're sliding back and forth, that hard stop so you can recapture puts a lot of energy in the back part of the shoe, on the heel, and on the stability of the shoe, so you can stop and make that recovery so you're not getting crossed. With these, I was playing back, and that's another reason I was playing back is because of the traction. We'll get to that in a moment. Overall support for our big man though, if you're running the court, if you're doing any post moves, if you're just going straight up and down, I mean, this is something where the support is still very good. That's just something hopefully they can fix for the next iteration. All right, so the cushion is another area where Puma is, I believe, still in court against Adidas for Boost. And this was one of the competitors I brought with it to compare. And you can see how this essentially has their energy bead and ignite foam combined. And it's actually not that thick. You can really take a look at here. It's maybe a finger's width in the forefoot. You have a lot of rubber on top, traction on the bottom. Same thing. The Harden Volume 1 was known for obviously having boost, but being very prominent for court feel. But it was almost fully encaged. You have the toe, the entire lateral side, and the medial side even wrap around the heel. So you have, again, very similar thin amount of boost going all the way through. So I thought these would play kind of similar, but these actually played a lot closer to the Brand Black J Crossover 3. And this is another one of those shoes where it had a really nice foam, but they completely contained it in that rubber. So really, really similar midsole tooling. And I'm not saying they copied them, but at the same time, you can see how the back of these guys almost goes completely straight. The back of these guys has a huge angle going down. And I shouldn't say it's huge, but it's definitely something you feel. So what that does when you contain the cushion, even if the cushion is really good, is it does feel muted. It is emphasizing on court feel. But what I can tell you is this does a great job with impact protection. Now, how does it feel on foot? Honestly, if I'm going to compare it, it's going to be compared to a lot of the shoes that have court feel out there. I would say this is a step up over most of them. This is a little bit better than your Curry 5. This is going to give you a little more impact protection than something like your Kyrie 4. And it's not quite as good as Encaged Boost. The Boost, whenever I was running, I would still feel some energy give back on these. Not much, just because it's more for court feel, but some. There's not really any energy return in these. And these felt very similar to my Wave 6s, and very similar to a lot of the, I don't want to say Chinese brands overall, but your Anta, I know your KT3, your Li Ning with your Wade, your Peak, you know, the TP9, with the Tony Parker, where you have really good court feel and really good impact protection overall. So this is not something that if you're looking for a bounce or a cushion ride, it's not really going to be for you. But what I can say is compared to most of the shoes that are court feel specific, it is slightly better with that impact protection. Overall, I mean, I would almost say this is going to be its closest competitor. Same price, just your Kyrie 4. Your Kyrie 5 obviously is coming out, but this has always been the line for Nike where they emphasize court feel, quickness, and I think they did a great job with the Kyrie 4. We're adding a little bit of impact protection. Where this does a slightly better job, this has a better materials. I think this has overall better fit. That is more along the lines of what you're going for. Now, the impact protection is helpful because you have huge guys like DeAndre Ayton and Boogie Cousins, where those are big men, and this is doing the job. So I do have a feeling that this can hold up. Now for their shoes, hopefully they're giving them a little bit thicker cushioning just because they could need that. And I could see them changing that tooling just slightly so it works for their foot. I don't know if I said it, but there's really only one fatal flaw in this shoe, and that was for me personally, and that is the traction. I don't know if you guys can see the dust on it in this video. I'll post some pictures, but this thing was a dust magnet. I played on 5 different courts. I really wanted to give this shoe the benefit of the doubt. It has a very similar traction pattern to your Kobe 10. In my case, I found the Kobe 10 to actually be really good, but it was also one of those shoes that some people didn't find it that great. So hopefully you guys can see some similarities here where you have a lot of nubs coming out. The traction pattern itself works very well. For the last gym I played in, it was actually a decently clean court, and I had a towel that was a little bit wet just so I can make sure I clean this off. And I would only have like good traction on this for maybe the first minute. It felt like pretty much every 2 runs, you're wiping them. So if you have an offensive set, you go to defense. Offensive set, you go to defense. You're already wiping. So this is something that needed constant wiping. But what happens is, at least with this pair, because this has a translucent outsole, the rubber itself, the compound, is really sticky. I mean, you really feel like it's just grabbing every amount of dust. Even if you play on what you think is a clean court, the traction on this will find it. Like, this is going to do a lot better job than any of the dust brooms that you have on court. So when it was clean, it was squeaky. But my take is, if you have a basketball shoe, I would venture to say any basketball shoe does well on a clean court. So if you're in the NBA, obviously, I would like to imagine pretty much all those courts are pristine. If you're at the college level, a lot of those courts are very well kept, even some high schools. So depending where you play, if you have a clean court, you're not going to have any issues. If you're playing on any normal courts, any 24-hour fitness, if you're just a normal person, you're playing anytime it's not even real hardwood. One of the gyms I play in is kind of a park district, and they actually have a court that is also for like floor hockey, so there's some cushion under it, and it's a really nice court. I like playing on it, but it's not a hardwood, and I couldn't trust these. It was clean. They keep it clean. For defensive movements, again, I felt like it would slide. Any hard cuts, I was definitely playing at a slower pace. And honestly, some of the other guys were playing in Huaraches, so it wasn't really serious play. Huarache's not even a basketball shoe, but I would have to take it down where I am not going all out in these. They feel nice. I think they have an incredible off-court and on-court look, but the traction is just something that is, I hope, is really a compound issue. So if they do come out with a solid traction outsole, they do have a triple black coming out, but I don't know if that's going to be a solid rubber or a translucent black rubber. I think that makes all the difference because the actual nubs do work. Now, I did actually communicate with Nightwing himself, and he said overall in the clean courts he played in, it did a good job, but he didn't play any of the dirty courts yet. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say, but what I can tell you is, for me, for my style of play, and on multiple different courts, this traction was very much a letdown, especially compared to the rest of the shoe, which Puma did an excellent job. All right, so the comparison. Who is this shoe for? Why would you buy this shoe? First off, it's $120, which is right in the meat of the market. There's a lot of shoes you can buy for $120. Some of them $125, $130, $115, $110. But this is right in the meat of it, where if you're looking to buy a really good basketball shoe, I think most people, even most parents, are saying, okay, you know, we're going to spend $100 for you. So to get them to go to $120 is not too far of a stretch. At that price point, you can get a lot of really good shoes, and unfortunately I would almost recommend most of them over the Puma. Now when this starts to come out in different colorways, with that triple black, with the gray and black one, they have a lot of nice colorways coming out. this is something that pulls off your off-court and on-court look really well. So if it's for fashion, you know what? You might as well buy this to have a new school Puma Clyde that maybe you can play basketball in. So that's not out of the question. If you just want something different where it's not 3 stripes, it's not Jordan, it's not Under Armour, this is something that does do a really good job. Now, what are you getting that's better? The materials and use of it, I think, are definitely a price point above. At 120, you're not really getting anything that's a full knit. You're really stepping up into things that are 130. Not a big price difference. You're talking about your Curry 5, your KT4, Klay Thompson from Anta. Those all have knit for a little bit more, and those are generally better shoes. Now, this has a little bit better cushion than the Curry 5, but the Curry 5 overall, I think, is better in every other regard. Same thing, the KT4, based on reviews, I don't have mine in yet, looks to be a better shoe in most regards. If we're talking at the same price point, obviously we're looking at the Kyrie 4, looking at something like the Dame 4. You know, that price point is really crowded. Your PG2, your 115, your CP3, your Jordan Why Not? All of those shoes are going to provide something better in most regards. This does not excel in any one area. For court feel, I think the Kyrie 4 is going to give you a little bit better court feel with very similar fit and better traction. For cushion, the PG2 and the Why Not both have better cushion while also having substantially better traction and a lot better lockdown. And maybe you can say this has a better fit. And that's the only thing this does very well because the materials are so nice. But that loss of traction in comparison does make a huge difference if you're looking for performance. If we step into the cheaper price points at 110, 115, now we're looking at Jordan CP3 Why Not, or the CP3 11. That's very similar to the shoe, but I would just take the CP3. I mean, you're getting Zoom Air on that. You're getting similar traction. That's actually a little bit better. This has a better fit, but that's going to be its closest competitor. And honestly, there's not a lot of people buying the CP3 line. So that isn't a huge, like, oh man, like, which one am I picking? At that point, if you want to be different, maybe you do want to go with this one. So traction overall is really its biggest factor. Hopefully they can help and then compound on that. The tooling, really, if they had these go straight down versus having that indent, I think would help a lot with stability. And then obviously they can fix the colors really easily, and I think this is such a good looking shoe. And then finally, just opening up that cushion a little bit, just like Adidas has done. It doesn't have to be in cage 360. Now, if that has to do with the design or if they're worried about the support, obviously for the first iteration, that's okay. But I think they can really open up that medial side just like Adidas did, and that's going to help out a lot to allow that cushion to kind of react and hopefully give some energy return, because right now this is really more of a court feel kind of cushion setup. Overall, I am impressed with the first basketball shoe they've done in over 2 decades. They've taken a lot of technology from other people. I hope they win those court cases against Adidas for Boost, against Nike for Flyknit, and obviously they try to take from the best to provide the best, and to get the right fit, the right kind of materials, the right style. There's a lot of things they did well. Changing the compound and working on the midsole tooling is something that I think is a little bit simple, because they do have a cushion that I think would work very well. So they have all the things in place to have a fantastic lineup in the future, where they come out with a guard specific shoe shortly, or they have an entirely 2 Disruptor 2 next year. But I think they are in it for the long haul, signing on a lot of young players that have a lot of promise, having Jay-Z at the helm where he's going to be doing some cool things. This is something that I'm looking forward to. This specific colorway, I don't know if I'll be keeping. Honestly, I do like it better. I like it with the black laces, which I think what Duke did on his shoes from Wear Testers. But overall, with some of the colorways I've seen coming out, this is something I probably will be either returning, selling, doing something, and then grabbing another colorway to enjoy it, just because even off the court, I really did like these. Ladies, gentlemen, hopefully you liked that. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Ask me any questions down below in the comments. We will have quite a few other videos coming out here where I'm going to be comparing other shoes. As always, please hit subscribe and the little bell button at the bottom so you can be aware when the videos come out. You can follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. And if you guys want me to go over anything, let me know. Hit me back. To everyone who watched, this is Levi with Sneaker Gears. Really appreciate you guys, and I'll come at you later.